We have a direction that will make Nassau County stronger. There's some tough medicine in there. We could make that medicine a little bit more tasteful if people work together.
We've been to the table many times. Their demands are so unrealistic that it's really more than pie in the sky. It's just absolute nonsense.
CSEA President Jerry Larracuda says Mangano is asking for too much. PBA President James Carver says the same.
He's got to come down on his demands.
And while the labor leaders and Mangano will see who blinks first, workers like Shepard are hoping for the best.
For me, it would be devastating.
And the county executive says if the labor leaders do not reach a deal to save the county at least $75 million by December 15th, well, county workers could begin to lose their jobs come January. We're in Mineola. Jill Wagner, News 12 Long Island.
So for the update. In Nassau, Republicans say they've kept control of the county legislature. So could that mean big changes ahead for unions? News 12 Long Island's Jill Wagner joins us now. Jill?
Well, Stone, Republicans say they've won back control of the legislature. Democrats say it's still too close to call. Either way, there are two very different interpretations of the results.
I have a message for those unions, and I hope they're watching on television. We're still here.
Just minutes after election results were in, Republicans fired off this message to labor leaders and Nassau County workers: negotiate or else.
The people have spoken. They understand that we have to right-size government, less taxes.
Today, Nassau Executive Ed Mangano maintained Republicans kept control of the legislature. Proof, he says, that residents like the direction he's taking the county. Mostly no new taxes and cutting government. Mangano says if the unions don't make major concessions to save the county money, hundreds of workers will be laid off.
It's about a vindication that we're going in the right direction.
I don't think either side should be claiming victory.
CSEA head Jerry Larracuda and Democrats say the election results are still too close to call, with just a handful of votes separating the candidates in two districts. In the 14th district, Eva Pearson and Republican incumbent Joseph Belisi, and in the 18th, between Robert Germino and Democrat Delia DeRigi-Whitten. And Larracuda says whichever way it goes, it proves one thing: Mangano doesn't have a mandate.
We're not going to be forced to the table with a gun to our head.
Again, it's still not official just who is going to control the legislature. It will likely come down to absentee ballots and recounts, and we may not have official results for a couple of weeks. Colleen.
Okay, thank you, Jill.
Welcome back to Eyewitness News. First at 4 patients and employees at one of the biggest hospitals on Long Island reeling today after widespread layoffs.
175 workers, including 15 doctors, handed pink slips at Nassau University Hospital. Administrators trying to close a $50 million budget gap. Some patients are worried, and the union says the quality of care may be at stake. Long Island reporter Josh Einiger is in East Meadow today with the story. Josh.
Yeah, Liz, as you said, Nassau University Medical Center is one of the busiest patient facilities all across Long Island. Tonight, nearly 5% of its workforce being told they'll have to find someplace else to work. On a miserably cold and rainy day, they wheeled their worldly belongings from their home away from home. Close to 200 employees of Nassau University Medical Center now out in the cold.
Over 100 people have come to our office today in tears. They don't know how they're going to be able to feed their children. They don't know where the next dollar is going to come.
Today, the hospital issued pink slips to 175 people, including 15 doctors, 51 patient support personnel like orderlies, 53 clerical workers, 45 maintenance staff, and 2 nurse practitioners. Hospital administrators say they're simply right-sizing their expenses for today's fiscal realities. But union leader Linda Demanda says the hospital is cutting vital employees who are directly involved with patients.
There's a lot of patient care that is going to be affected by this in a domino effect. Who's taking care of the patients? Who's transporting? Who's going to, feed them when they need to be fed?
In a written statement, the hospital's CEO said the public corporation has been buffeted by steep decreases in state Medicaid reimbursement and a huge jump in pension costs. Of the 175 employees who unfortunately will lose their jobs, he said, only a very minimal amount provide direct patient care or housekeeping support, helping to minimize any impact to patients. But there's no overstating the impact on longtime employees, now forced to hunt for jobs.
The morale here is extremely low. because people have given their lives. Like I said, 29 years, and here they are being laid off.
Now, the hospital insists it's doing everything it can to minimize the effect on patients, and one example of that, it says, is that it didn't lay off any nurses. It says frontline patient care should not be affected by this, but they're still over $5 million in the red, and if they don't get even more concessions from the union, the hospital says they may cut even more jobs. We're live in East Meadow, Nassau County tonight. Josh Einiger, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Josh.
The clock is ticking in Nassau tonight. Unions debating their next move after the county executive issued an ultimatum. $75 million in concessions or hundreds of layoffs. News 12 Long Island's Christine Ensinger is live in Mineola. Christine?
Well, Stone, I spoke with the head of Nassau's largest labor union today, who says that county officials have been more flexible in these negotiations than in the past. And the county executive says the same of that union. But tonight, there is still no deal. And if that continues, it could mean a very unhappy holiday season for many.
I don't know how to beat the deficit, but it's a horrible thing.
Horrible, says attorney Penny Castle, that according to officials, over 400 Nassau County employees could be out of a job by December 15th, just in time for the holidays.
We try to do it surgically and thoughtfully, but these are, deep cuts.
County Executive Ed Mangano says the hardest hit department would be social services, which stands to lose 144 workers. Castle's done work with the department for years.
They're already so shorthanded, everything's so slow, and it's a problem for my clients, so that would be a disaster.
Mangano says the only way to avoid such draconian cuts is if labor unions manage to put together $75 million in concessions within the next 2 weeks.
We're always looking to do whatever it is to save jobs. I mean, that's the most important thing.
But CSEA President Jerry Larracuda says he'll work on those concessions only if NYFA, the state watchdog group overseeing the county's finances, changes its requirements. He says right now, NYPA officials are looking for concessions totaling about $12,000 per year for each CSEA employee.
That's just not going to happen. And if that's the only alternative they leave us with, well, then Nassau is going to suffer crippling layoffs. Services are going to be cut even further than they are. Residents like Darren Nielsen say word of the layoffs is terrible, but not surprising.
That's always unfortunate when that happens. But, that's the way life is, I think. Sometimes you have to have layoffs to save the money. Yes. I'm afraid to say that, but...
Come to expect it at this point.
Exactly.
Calls to NYFA were not returned this afternoon, but meantime, while CSEA leaders say there's no way that their members will agree to $12,000 a year in concessions, Mangano claims that the union has plenty of room to help the county, pointing out that the average compensation package for members is close to $110,000. Both sides are expected to be back at the negotiating table before the end of this week. We're live tonight in Mineola. Christine Ensinger, News 12, Long Island. Lily?
All right. Thank you so much, Christine.
A threat tonight to lay off 400 Nassau County workers and demote another 200 employees. County Executive Ed Mangano says he'll make those cuts if the union does not agree to concessions in the next few weeks. Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett is in Mineola tonight with the story. NJ.
And Liz, they have just over 2 weeks to hammer out a deal. But yes, the situation here is bad and the threat is real. They've had layoffs before, and it's left many wondering whether they will be next.
I hope not. Work very hard for the county and for the people.
County workers admit tonight they're worried. Some could lose their jobs. Others will have to do more for less.
We're doing, 2, 3, 4 times the work that we did before with the same salary, and possibly now with the cuts, we will be doing it for less salary.
Homeowners here already pay some of the highest taxes in the nation. The county executive admits he's facing some painful choices.
This is a tough economy.
Very tough.
A lot of people. Is this the right time to be laying people off?
It's never a good time to lay people off, and it's not something that we obviously take lightly, but what's most important is we have to balance our budget and we have to be able to operate government.
Mangano says the budget, passed by the legislature, requires concessions from the unions, including the county police force. Otherwise, 435 jobs will disappear through layoffs or retirements. 217 workers will be shifted to lower-paying jobs, and 183 open positions would go unfilled. The president of the county's largest union says his members have already suffered enough.
We gave them in our last contract work rule changes that added up to millions of dollars, and that's already been forgotten about.
I'm in sympathy with the union workers.
Most people we spoke with said both sides need to find common ground.
I should be able to live here making the money that I make and not struggle all the time. It's just not fair. Whatever they have to do to help, I think we should all be pitching in.
Now, the typical CSEA worker here makes just over $50,000 a year with free medical benefits. Now, the county executives seem to suggest to me today that most of those jobs can be saved through concessions. The deadline is December 15th. More talks are expected later this week. Live tonight, Mineola, Long Island. NJ Burkett, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.